Hey guys, Rhett here. What is going on? This is my 2025 State of the Union for Section 8. And I try to do one of these every single year just to give everybody an idea about what the environment looks like right now for Section 8 investment. From the investor side, from the tenant side, from the operational and logistics side, and most importantly, from the governmental side. So I want to address first that there has been a ton of speculation about the big, beautiful bill, the current presidential administration wanting to cut Section 8 funding, institute term limits to how long somebody can have a voucher for, cut funding, move funding, put funding back on the states. It was all put in the big, beautiful bill. Nothing happened. Big, beautiful bill passed. None of that stuff was included. It was all total noise, just like myself and my clients had discussed for months leading up to the bill being signed and being voted on. So literally what has changed in Section 8 so far? Absolutely nothing. The only thing that has changed is the demand for units. It continues to be on the rise. We are on the brink of an interest cut in terms of interest rates. And as soon as the interest rates get cut, what's going to end up happening is you are going to see money and debt get cheaper, because with lower rates come cheaper mortgage payments every month. And as soon as that money gets cheaper to get a hold of and cheaper in monthly payments, what happens to the prices of real estate? They skyrocket. So as soon as those rates get cut, we are going to see prices in the market go up. It has been the best buying environment over the last couple of years since we've seen highs over 8% in interest rates and everywhere between 6.8 and 8.4% over the last couple of years to try and curb inflation. That's what the government does when inflation's high. They move interest rates up, make money more expensive, limit spending, and what ends up happening is when you make the debt very expensive, real estate prices come down, which we have seen. But the opposite happens when the rates come down. The real estate prices go up. So yes, it's great that money will be getting cheaper over the next 12 months, but the real estate prices in terms of acquisition costs are going to go up. Now, let's talk about what that means for Section 8. So Section 8 is and will continue to be, like we've talked about for years on this channel. Please check the receipts. I've been saying this for years and years and years. It's too big to fail. It does not matter what you hear in the news. It does not matter what you see on X or Twitter and what you see on Instagram and TikTok. It's noise. It's too big to fail. When you think about it, imagine for a minute, you have tens of millions of Section 8 tenants across the country. All of a sudden, if you go to cutting funding and term limits, you'll have tens of millions of homes where tenants can't pay rent. If that happens, you'll have tens of millions of homes that need to go up for sale immediately because owners aren't getting paid. They're not getting their rent payments. Well, when you flood the market with tens of millions of homes, and inside those homes are people that aren't paying because they don't have any money to pay, because they're either in an extremely underserved area with a lot of dependents and don't make enough money to be able to afford those areas, which is what we see 95% of the time. You're going to have a product you're trying to sell in this worst case scenario that will not happen, where you have tens of millions of homes that hit the market within 6 months of each other, occupied with tenants that aren't paying rent. So landlords are stuck with mortgages, and then you can't sell them because who wants to buy that problem? There is nowhere for the people living in the homes to go because as of right now, homeless shelters are filled. Any kind of housing project or project-based affordable housing locally is filled to the brim with extremely long wait lists there as well. So how do you sell that house? Well, what you do is you continue to drop the price. As you continue to drop the price of the home, ends up bringing down all the home values around it. You have an extremely high amount of inventory. You keep lowering prices of homes that are on market. And then what happens? You create a real estate crash. Tens of millions of houses, nobody can buy anything. You keep bringing houses down, everything comes down with it. It creates an economic catastrophe. And of course, as we know, our housing market is directly tied to our global or our national economy, which is the global economy, which would create probably a global market crash. So it's not going to happen, because regardless of the politics behind it, that's all it is. It's politics, it's talk. Any of the actual talk that you've heard about in terms of cutting funding, eliminating fraud, that has all been based on project-based vouchers. So what we do is we deal with Section 8, right? Housing Choice Voucher programs, okay? That is what we do. We do the Housing Choice Voucher Program, the HCPV, okay? In that instance, what ends up happening is a family gets a voucher and they can choose to live in whatever house they want to. They move into that house and you as a landlord can choose to accept that voucher. If you choose to accept that voucher, the government pays you the rent. When that tenant leaves, that house, you can now rent it for $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $1,000 a month to whoever. As soon as that tenant who has that voucher, when they leave that house now no longer has anything to do with Section 8. Now, if somebody else comes to your house with a voucher and you as a landlord and the owner of that house want to take that voucher, then great, the government continues to pay rent, but you don't have to. So the Housing Choice Voucher Program, all that means is that the tenant is holding the voucher. It's in their hands. They have their voucher. Okay, this is a lid for one of my candles. This is the voucher. Wherever the tenant takes this, if the landlord chooses to accept it, then that home, that unit, that rental property now becomes a Section 8 rental, okay? So that's the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The cool thing about that is it's also a free market. So the home that you put on market has to be of a quality level and has to draw attention and demand to other people in that market that have vouchers who want to choose your market. That is why when you put a unit on market, you can't just skimp out on it. You can't just make it as cheap as possible and throw it up on market. Because if you do that, what ends up happening is nobody wants to choose your market. Why would they, or your home rather? Why would they want to choose your rental property when they could choose one of our clients' rental properties that have spent more money, more time, more attention to detail, and created a better product that is more geared towards a tenant for the long term? They're always going to choose our unit versus yours if you throw it together. I want to get in as cheap as I can. And you can see that when you walk into a home. So the Housing Choice Voucher Program allows the private sector to invest in government subsidized housing, okay? That is the Housing Choice Voucher Program. I'm trying to beat that into your head, all right? On the other side of that, you have project-based vouchers, PBVs, okay? What that is, a project-based voucher. Think about that in the terms of a development. If I go and build 200 units, okay, those units are all subsidized regardless of who moves into them. So there's a wait list for those units, and the next person up moves in. That is what you think when you think of a housing project, okay, where the actual voucher is attached to the individual unit. So when this administration has talked about cutting Section 8 funding because there is fraud in Section 8, they are referring to in times, and of course it's all noise anyway, but what they have been referring to is those large developments, not the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Inside of those projects, they've discussed term limits, meaning they don't want people living off of the government in those units and being there forever. The Housing Choice Voucher Program, which is what we do, acts as a stepping stone. It allows somebody to get their own house with their family that is away from this project setting, this project-based voucher setting, where they can get off on their own and they can go back to school. They can put their kids in a safe place. They can choose a home that is zoned in a better area for better schools. if you are in a big housing project, a big housing development, wherever that development is zoned for school-wise, that's where kids are going to school. Versus somebody who has a housing choice voucher says, you know what, I really want my kids to go to schools that are zoned in this county or this area. They can move to a house that accepts that voucher in that area. We see it all the time. We try and buy in areas where schools are strong, and people who have vouchers want to move into those areas because it's very important for them to send their kids to those schools, okay? So the government understands, all right, the freedom of this voucher is significantly better than the project-based here. They are talking about limiting the term of how long you can stay on those project-based vouchers, and therefore, what my thought is, give people more housing choice vouchers to then get out of the program. It is a stepping stool, right? Now, it doesn't always act like that. We have tenants that have been in our units for 20, 30 years. But the premise of the program is to use Section 8 to get off of Section 8. Now, in reality, what ends up happening is people get the housing choice vouchers. They move into a home, and what happens around you? Things get more expensive. So as inflation continues, as the cost of living goes up, as job scarcity increases, so AI has taken tons and tons of median income to medium lower income jobs. It's taken away tons of cashiers at supermarkets. You see more and more of the automated checkouts, especially at Walmart. I remember 10, 15 years ago, you'd go there on a weekend and you'd have tons and tons of people checking you out. You go there now and you'll realize there's not many people checking you out. You look at a place like Costco. Costco used to have one person for every single line, right? Now there's a huge main checkout area at Costco, at least where I live, where one person handles 10 registers, right? So that is now 9 people without jobs. That's now 9 people that are going to be continued to look for jobs. If they can't find them, they're going to get pushed lower and lower and lower into kind of that socioeconomic level to where it's harder to make ends meet. And it's only going to get worse as technology gets better and better and better. AI continues to learn. So if anything, Section 8 funding needs to increase, okay? It's not going anywhere. It's going to become more prevalent. I'm seeing returns now that are better than returns I've seen in years because local jurisdictions are increasing voucher numbers because they have to continue to incentivize the private sector to invest in Section 8. And in order to do that, how do you incentivize the private sector to invest in Section 8? You have to increase the investor return. How do you increase the investor return? You give vouchers for higher amounts of money. What happens if more people need Section 8 and there aren't the units for it? You need more units. How do you create more units? You need to try and incentivize the private sector to build more units. Well, how do you do that? You got to move the rents up. So it's all tied together. I've been in it long enough where I can really, really see this thing from what I consider a bird's eye view of it. I've had Section 8 properties through different administrations, whether you're left-leaning, right-leaning, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. I've had Section 8 units through all of it. And the underlying message that you get is that either side can't really do much to Section 8 because it's so important to our foundational economics as a country, where because it's tied in so strongly to the real estate market, and the real estate market essentially is so tied into the global economy of our entire world, you can't drastically change things. You can't drastically make changes to tens of millions of households and tens of millions of investors. What I love about Section 8 is it gives people the opportunity who might not be able to save up $100,000 in cash or $200,000 in cash to buy property in New York and California and Texas and Massachusetts and Florida and Chicago and North Carolina and very expensive areas. It allows you to get into areas that are not as expensive. And what that ends up doing is it allows normal, everyday, median income people to create real estate portfolios that mean something. It allows them to build wealth over the long term. And it's going to continue to do that. If, in my opinion, the need for Section 8 is going to grow tremendously over the next 10 years. You look at the tariffs that we're seeing. Everything is getting more expensive. It's not getting better. And it will not get better. It can't get better. It's very hard to bring prices down when they've already been up. And I'm not talking about housing prices. They're always going to fluctuate with the interest market and the debt markets. I'm talking more about products, food, things that are made. As soon as you get a certain price for something, you hire people to build something, especially in America. You hire better people, your costs as a business start to go up. So your profit margins can increase or they can decrease a little bit, but the overall cost of whatever you're selling is X, right? And what you're paying somebody to do it is Y. As X goes up, it goes up because Y gets more expensive, and it continues to go and go up and up and up. So it's very hard to bring prices down after they've already gone up. And we have in America a very, very slow rising wage market. So when you look at all of these factors, and I apologize if I'm jumping around and being a little bit confusing, but all I'm trying to articulate is that there is a perfect storm brewing for us as a country needing more subsidized units from our government. And the government cannot provide them. We've had a homeless crisis in this country for almost a decade at this point. What has the government done? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They don't have the ability to develop housing like it needs to be developed for a couple reasons. Number one, when you have major decision and policy being made, the administrations are not in office long enough to execute them fully. I mean, you look at the prior administration that we had, that's 4 years. The government can't get anything done in 4 years, never mind building millions of units of affordable housing. And then after 4 years, now you have another administration in. And then after 4 years, they're going to be gone. And another administration is going to come in. You don't see a lot of people picking up where other people left off. And you don't see affordable housing being a forefront of the issue of any of these people who are in politics. Every day that the government is not creating more affordable housing units, it's another day for us as the individual investor and the private sector to continue to build out units and build long-term wealth for ourselves and our families, while at the same time creating an affordable housing unit for somebody that needs it. All these projects, all these big developments that are subsidized, they're filled. They're filled to the brim, and there's waiting lists for those. And then the people that are in those housing projects are on the waiting lists to get a housing choice voucher. So everybody who is in a housing project wants to get out. They want to get a housing choice voucher and get a home to live in. And then there are people who are dying to get into those housing projects because they're sleeping on a couch or they're sleeping in their car with their kids. You have this major chain, and it all ends in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. You can't make any cuts to this. This is something that's been going on for 40 years. And now what our country has done is it's created this reliance on this system. You can't cut it. You can't cut it cold turkey. You can't trim it. You can't drop it down and say, we're going to do term limits here. You can't do it. It's woven into our economics. So it is, it's always funny when I hear people panicking about, Section 8's getting cut. This is getting cut. People have been saying it's going to get cut for 30 years. Okay, it's not going to get cut. Now it really can't get cut. We need more. We need more units. We need to create and develop so much. And the government, not only they can't make the decisions to do it, but they've showed us an unbelievably impressive inability to develop property historically. I mean, you look at some of the government projects in real estate development, they're some of the worst projects in history. When you look at budgets and the lack of work that was actually done, just do some research. Holy cow, it's terrible. But we have logistics. We have the operational abilities to do that stuff. to build out these units. And when I say build out, I don't mean building from ground up and doing ground up construction. All I mean is just creating units that are viable and on market for Section 8 tenants. If you guys don't know how to do that or are afraid to do it, send me an email. My information's in the description below. You can use me and my teams to do all of it. The lending we have in-house. The property management we have in-house, the maintenance companies we have in-house, the construction companies we have in-house. Everything's in-house with us. So we're able to get these things up faster and better than anybody else. But when you are considering getting into this, you have to understand the need for it is only going to grow. It's only going to go one way. There is no alternative. And the 10-year outlook on this is that where we are right now in terms of the amount of people that are reliant on this is nowhere near where it's going to be 10 years from now. And in my opinion, nowhere near where it's going to be 10 years from that. I don't see this going any other way. It is too big to fail. Now, why is it too big to fail? Well, because over the last 30, 40 years, our government has created it. It's created a situation out of the need of people who live in underserved communities where the job markets don't exist, or the earning potentials are significantly stagnated to where people have gotten on this program and can't get off. And now what has happened is you have all of these people who are on this program that can't get off, whether it was their goal to get off, but a lot of people can't, because the markets have tremendously outpaced their earning potential and earning abilities. But now you have all these people in line to get on the program, to the point where it's so backlogged that we're seeing tens of thousands of people on wait lists to get into these programs. We hear it all the time. I had a meeting with one of my management companies yesterday, and it is unbelievable how many people are waiting to get into our units and they're sleeping in their cars with their kids. It's unbelievable. I don't remember a time where tenants have been this desperate to get into houses. And that's what we want to do. We want to get people in houses. We want to get houses on the market. I've always said this. Check the receipts on this too. Right now, people are afraid. They're afraid to buy real estate. They're afraid to get into Section 8. It's the best time to buy. When people are afraid, it is the best time to buy. As soon as those rates come down and people are like, wait a second, the big beautiful bill passed 2 months ago and nothing's happened and nobody's talking about it anymore. And we're going to find something else to spread fear about. Everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, I should have been buying Section 8. And now the rates just dropped. And now all the prices I was looking at a couple months ago at $70,000 or $50,000 for a house, or where we buy houses $10,000, $20,000 a house, now they're $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000. And I've just missed out on 25% discount because I waited until the rates went down. So don't be that person. There's nothing to be afraid of. Let's go. Let's get this thing going. If you want to get started, send me an email in the description below. As always, please leave your questions, comments. I'll get to all of them, and we'll see you next time.